Well, good evening. I'm wondering if anybody out there can hear me. I'm seeing someone can hear me. Can anybody else? I can hear you. Okay, great. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Can hear me loud and clear. I can hear you. That's a wonderful thing. Um, Looks like we have, as I look on my screen, about 21 people here. And that's actually a pretty cool thing. Um, it's been a while since I've used this, so that's kind of interesting. I'm kind of wondering how somebody's able to draw on the screen when I look at my screen. Somebody's able to annotate, which is kind of interesting. Um, and I thought I had muted everybody's video as well, but let me see if I can. Who on earth is that? Is that Nathan on the iPhone? Okay. Let me just see if I can do something here now. Doesn't look like it. Okay, a couple of you looks like on your videos. I usually try to mute those in order to kind of keep people private. Um, but right now I can't find the control in order to do that, so I'm not going to bother with it. But anyway, as long as everybody can still hear me loud and clear, that's a good thing. And let me reduce something here. Oops, hitting the wrong button. Okay. Um, as you can see, I put some general information up on the screen here because looks like we're up another person here. Your comments aren't anonymous, so you want to be using good judgment when you're typing in the chat area. And I'll be keeping an eye on that chat area all through the presentation here. And if you have a question, that's something you want to just put into the chat. I'll be reading those chat comments and trying to answer your questions as you might be asking them. And I want to do something. Well, okay. Uh, Also, the session's being recorded for others to access later, or if you get cut off or something, you can access it as well. And like I said, please type your questions in the chat area. Those who are viewing this as a recording will need to record their answers on paper because the poll's not going to work for them. And let me see if I can pull the poll up so you can see it. On your screen right now, can you see a poll? Somebody type in the chat area and help me with that. Can you see the poll? Ooh, I'm hearing no. No, you cannot. Okay, let me see. Oh, that's not what I wanted either. Okay, still can't see the poll. Like I said, it's been a while since I have used this, so I'm kind of curious why we can't get that poll up there. Okay, hold on just a second. Now it went away. I saw the poll, no answers. Saw it there for a second. Oh, I see it now. It's back. Okay, that's good. Um, when when I put a question up, I'll then pull up the poll, and you can register your answer on the poll. I see somebody already put in a number one kind of thing. So I'm gonna actually clear that and hopefully Okay, we're back to 0 now. So let me see if I can, whoops, didn't mean to do that either. See if that didn't work. Okay, what I'm going to do is pull up the first question, and then after we've had a chance to read it, I'll give you a chance to vote on it, and we'll look at how everybody voted, and then I'll tell you what the real answer is. So let's see how this will work for us. So first question, oops, let me see what's going, there we go. The goal of psychology that's most concerned with using psychological knowledge to help bring about desirable behavioral outcomes is what? Which one of these is it? Description, explanation, prediction, influence. So let me bring up the poll, and hopefully you should be able to register an answer, and I see some answers going in right now. So which one of these 4 possibilities is the correct answer? And nobody can see your vote attached to your name, so that's a good thing. But which of these goals is most concerned with using our psychology to help bring about desirable behavioral outcomes? It looks like, let's see, 7, we're up to about 10 people have voted so far out of 24. So I'm going to give us a little bit more time here to make a decision. And then I'll eventually cut us off. So we're up to about 13 out of 24. A little bit over half of people have put in a vote. Those of you, some of you have a camera on your, on your computer. If you want to leave it running, just be aware that we're able to see you. So I'm actually using my laptop that does not have a camera, just so that you don't have to watch my face. But I think you can actually mute your camera from your end if you wanted to. But that's up to you. I actually put a piece of tape over mine just for the heck of it. So we're up to about 14 out of 23 have cast a vote. So I'm going to end the poll. Poll's not coming up for you. Well, I'm hoping, Ryan, that it did eventually come up. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. Ryan, it still didn't come up for you. I'm not sure why. And Sabrina's saying it won't let her put her answer in. That I don't have the correct answer on that one. So as you can see, though, hopefully you can, how many of you can see the poll results? Type into the chat for me if you can see the results. Okay, got it. Yes, I can. Okay, that's good. And as you can see, 5 of you went for answer number 1, description, and looks like number 3 and number 4 tied for second place. But as we check the board, survey says, and you can see the correct answer actually is influence. Description, in psychology, we describe thoughts and behaviors. What's a good example? Well, just describing behaviors of a toddler who's sucking their thumb. That's a description. We explain things. We try to predict how people will act. When I was working at the state hospital, we were asked to predict whether somebody was going to be violent or not. And that's probably one of the most difficult things to predict, because once somebody's been violent, there's a pretty good chance they're going to be violent again. But if they've never been violent, it's really hard to predict who is and who isn't ever going to be violent. So, okay, I'm going to stop sharing the results of the poll and hopefully clear our results. Yep. So that we can go on to another question here. Oops. And let me try another question here. And next question, going to be again from chapter 1. You read in the newspaper that the oldest living person in the world was born in 1879. This strikes you as a coincidence because that's the year in which historians tell us that modern experimental psychology was born, Wilhelm Wundt was born, psychologists defined the soul, or the behaviorist movement began. So, hopefully, can you see the poll again? I'm hoping you can. And okay, good. I see some people starting to vote here on this question of reading in a newspaper that Wilhelm, or the oldest living person, was born in 1879. What else happened in 1879? And I'm seeing a few people putting in votes. We're at 50% now. 12 out of 24 have cast a vote for what they think is the correct answer. Now we're up to 15 out of 24. Seems like you're getting the hang of it a little bit here. This is a question from chapter 1, a little bit of the history of psychology, and you know, mainly looking at what happened in 1879. I know I gave you something in your notes about that. So we've been looking at it for about 2 minutes. So I'm going to end the poll and share the results with you so you can see that the first answer, A, got the most responses. And in fact, when we look at the correct answer here, we see that number 1 is in fact the correct answer. Wilhelm Wundt was actually born in, I think, the 1850s or something like that. And in 1879, he set up that first psychology lab. Does anybody remember what his research technique was? Type it in the chat area if you remember. What was his research technique that kind of made him famous in some ways? Oh man, Kristen's quick on the fingers there. Yeah, introspection. Remember, Luke, look inside yourself. And yeah, he wasn't, oh yeah, I guess he was checking people's response to a stimulus, but he had them look inside themselves and tell what their inner experience was if they took a bite of an apple or something along those lines. So, okay, I'm going to clear the poll here, and that'll prepare us for another question here. I'm hoping I'm moving the poll out of your way. And let's take a look at, this one's from chapter 2. An activist stops people at a shopping mall and asks them questions about their attitudes toward gun control. Which research technique is being used? Is this a survey, experiment, case study, naturalistic observation? What's the best answer? Looks like people are finding this to be an easy one. That's good. So we have, wow, 13 out of 25 already have put in their response. Activists stopping people at a shopping mall and asking questions. I kind of have a question for you guys. Can you move the poll, the box for the poll? Can you move it around on your page, or not? Type it in the chat if you can move it. Okay, that's good. I was just kind of curious because I've been moving it around on my page, and I didn't know if I was like blocking things for you. So I don't get to see it from your point of view. I get to see it only on my screen here. So I'm kind of relying on you for that feedback. So thanks for that. Okay, it looks like 20 out of 25 have responded here. And looks like we have one renegade. And you should be able to see, hopefully, that, oops, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, now you should be able to see that pretty much 19 of you went for survey. It was a survey being done, and in fact, that is the correct answer. What I do is highlight in dark what the correct answer is. So an experiment, it's definitely not an experiment going on. If he was just maybe asking one person, we might consider that a case study. Or if they were, naturalistic observation, just kind of watching what's going on. So that's not really the correct answer there. So, okay, let me, oops, okay, ended the polling and cleared your responses here. And we're ready for another question. Remember, at any time you can type a question into the chat area. I'm keeping an eye on that. And I just messed things up here on my end. So let me kind of do something. Here we go. I hope, yeah, there we go. Okay. Next question. I think it's from, yep, definitely from chapter 2. Which of the following correlation coefficients expresses the strongest relationship between two variables? So go ahead and enter your answer. Which of these 4 correlation coefficients is expressing, oops, looks like the polling is closed. Let me, there, I think you're able to answer now. Sorry about that confusion. So it looks like 7 out of 23, we're up to 9 now, have registered an answer. Which one of these correlation coefficients or numbers expresses the strongest relationship between two variables? And, well, 14 out of 24 of you have put in a response in so far. On the exam, I don't look for definitions. I ask you to apply your knowledge, and this is sort of an application of your knowledge. And looks like 21 out of 24 of you have put in a response. So I'm going to share the results with you in the poll here, and I'm going to share the results. And as you can see, the response number 4, in fact, somehow 3 people answered number 5. So I'm a little confused. But anyway, looks like number 4 garnered the most answers. And that's a good thing because number 4 is, in fact, the correct answer. remember when we're looking at the strongest relationship between two things, we're only looking at the number. We don't care about the sign, the negative sign or the positive sign. And if you remember, the highest or strongest correlation coefficient would be +1 or -1. And the closer we get to 0, that shows us a weak relationship. So 0.10 of these three, number 3 would be the weakest of the correlation coefficients, and -0.90 would show the strongest, meaning one went up and the other one went down. That's what a negative correlation signifies. If they both went up at the same time or both came down at the same time, that's what we call a positive correlation. Okay, let me clear our results and relaunch the poll. And you should, whoops, you should be able to now take a look at the next question, again from chapter 2. The only research method that can be used to draw a cause and effect relationship between two variables is what? What's the only way that we can say A caused B? And I think if you have your BS detector out, you probably could eliminate 2 of them. Well, maybe I spoke too soon because somebody just answered one of the ones that I thought I could easily just throw out the window. So, the only research method that can be used to draw a cause and effect relationship between two variables is what? Yeah, it looks like 16 out of 25 of you have put in a response. Yeah, up to 18 out of 25, so 72% of you have voted. So I'm going to hold off just a little bit here. While I'm waiting, would somebody just type in hi in the chat area? Because I want to see if I'm, okay. Thanks, Ryan. That's quick fingers on you. Thanks, Ashley. Okay. I just was worried that my chat had frozen there because I wasn't seeing any change. But again, you can type in a question if you wish, and I can respond to your questions that way. But I'm going to, since we have 20 out of 25, or looked at this question for about 2 minutes, I'm going to end the poll and share the results with you. And as you can see, what is that? 67% of you said an experiment. And in fact, if we look at the correct answer, experiment is in fact the correct answer. That's the only way we can say A causes B. I was going to say if you had your BS detector on, you could throw out case study and survey. They don't allow us to say A causes B. And here's one for the chat area. Correlation does not mean what? Anybody remember what the rest of the saying was? Correlation does not mean, Ashley is quick on the fingers. Yeah, causation. We cannot say when we see a correlation, we can't say that one variable caused the other to change. All we can say is they seem to be related. They're cousins, but one didn't cause the other. Oh, I get it. You guys can push the annotate button and kind of draw pictures, it looks like. I'm laughing out loud. Okay. So let me, clear the existing, here we go. And hold on a second, let me grab another question here. Oh, this one's just for fun. With Valentine's Day coming up, which one would you pick? A is number 1, B is number 2 there. So people usually fall in love with someone very different from themselves. In other words, opposites attract. What do you think? What do you think on this one? There's no right or wrong. Well, actually, there's a probably correct and incorrect on this. Opposites attract. What do you think about that? And since this one was just for fun, 22 out of 25 have answered. So let's see how people answered. And the majority of you went for false. And in fact, that's the correct answer, false. If you think about it, is, what's a good, I don't know if this is a great comparison, but let's say somebody's into country, you know, they wear boots and all that stuff. Are they going to be attracted to a punk or goth? Probably not. They don't have a whole lot in common. Where are they going to meet in the first place? So generally, we tend to find somebody who's pretty similar to ourselves. My wife is a social worker. I'm a psychologist and professor. So that's sort of how we met, was we had a lot of commonalities. Okay, let's look at another. I think this next one's just for fun too. Yeah, it's an optical illusion when the moon appears larger on the horizon than when it does overhead. Yeah, opposites don't tend to think the same. You're right, Ryan. That's a good observation. So, is it an optical illusion when the moon seems to appear larger on the horizon than it does when it's overhead? Looks like we got 9 out of 25 have voted already. About 40%. Again, this one's just for fun. It's kind of to get you thinking a little bit. I know it's late at night, but in fact, a lot of you probably started your day pretty early, just like I did. So, looks like 21 of you have answered so far. So I'm going to end the poll, and as you can, let me cancel. Excuse me. That's not what I wanted. Everybody, actually, as you can see, went for number 1, and in fact, that is the correct answer. It is an optical illusion. The moon doesn't grow or shrink. It stays the same size. It just appears larger when it's on the horizon. Hopefully I didn't blast your ears out. I had to mute my microphone a second and clear my throat. So, okay, let's take a look at another question. I think I'm done with chapter 2, but before I leave chapter 2, does anybody have any specific question from chapter 2? If you remember, I said there will probably be a lot of questions regarding chapter 2. So I'm kind of looking at the chat area. Not seeing anything. So, okay, let me get the poll out of the way here. I need to see if oh, that's chapter 3 here. The part of the neuron responsible for carrying the neural message from the cell body to the terminal buttons is what? Is it the soma, the dendrite, the axon, or the glial cells? And it looks like, well, we have about 48%, up 14 out of 25 now have cast a vote. So we're up to about close to 70% have put in a vote so far. Which part of the neuron is responsible for carrying the neural message from the cell body to the terminal buttons? And we'll give it a few more seconds here. And it looks like we have about 84%. So I'm going to end the poll and let you see how people voted. This one wasn't as clear as I thought it was going to be. Oops. Okay, there we go. But as you can see, 43% of you answered number 3, the axon. And if we look at the correct answer, the correct answer is, in fact, number 3. I didn't mean to give you the next question already, and I have no way of going back, I don't think. Well, yes, I do. Okay, there we go. So the correct answer was the axon. The dendrite receives messages, and the terminal buttons kind of spit out those neurotransmitters that we talked about. I want to back up to something, chapter 2, because I didn't have any questions on this, but if you remember in an experiment, there are 2 types of variables in a formal experiment. You are definitely going to need to know what are those 2 types of variables. And in fact, just for fun in the chat area, which one of the variables is the one that the experimenter changes between groups? Anybody remember which one the experimenter kind of varies a bit? All right, quick fingers there. Yeah, the independent one. And the one that gets measured then, go ahead with the quick fingers. Which one does the experimenter measure? And that would be the dependent variable. In my baby chick experiment, remember the independent variable was how much testosterone was injected into the chicks, and then we measured weight, aggression as our dependent variables. So I'm probably going to give you a description of an experiment, and I'm going to ask you what is maybe the dependent variable. I'm not going to ask you to define a dependent variable. I'm going to ask you to identify it. So you want to understand what the independent and dependent variables really are. If you want to, by the way, on D2L, I'm pretty sure I have some extra practice questions from chapter 2. There's only about 3 of them there, but they may give you a little bit of a review if you're still looking for practice questions. Okay, let me go on to another question here. Will there be any questions on the scientific method? You might want to know in general, what are the steps of that scientific method? If you remember, I think I put up about 4 or 5 of them or so. And yeah, you might want to be generally familiar with that whole deal. So that's a valid question for Ryan to ask there in the chat area. And let me do an adjustment here. Thank you. And okay, let's go ahead to another. Whoops, there we go. I think this one should be easy. Of course, just as I say that, an answer's curse. The gap between neurons is called what? Synapse, receptor, threshold, axon, terminal. And by the way, all of us probably can get an understanding of how well we know the material by how many you're getting correct or incorrect. So I hope you're nailing it here. I think this one is going to be a pretty close to unanimous decision. 80% of you have put in a vote, so I'm going to end the polling so you can kind of see what's going on here. And if I share the results, I have the answer bolded. Duh! Okay, well, nobody should have gotten that one incorrect then. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, synapse is definitely the correct answer there. So that, boy, I don't know what I did there, but must have hit the wrong button here. So, okay, let me oops, let me relaunch the poll here. See if I can find another question and not spit out the answer too early. Let's try this one. Okay. Messages are carried across the synapse by little green men riding bicycles, texting, electrical charges, or neurotransmitters. As you can tell, I was having a little bit of fun when I made up some of these questions. If nothing else, I'm going to have fun this semester. Whether you learn something is beside the point, but I'm hoping both will happen. I hope you learn things about psychology, and I also hope we have some fun. So hopefully I haven't given the answer yet, and I haven't. Looks like 23 out of 25 have put in a response. And so I'm going to end the polling and share the results with you. And hopefully you can see that most of you went for number 4, which is in fact the correct answer. Neurotransmitters, messages are carried across the synapse. Number 3, electrical charges, messages are carried through the neuron by electrical charges, but across the synapse, that's when we get those chemical messengers or neurotransmitters going there. So actually number 4 is going to be your best answer for this question here. So congratulate yourself, those of you who gave answer number 4. Okay, let's take a look at another one here. And, oops. Here we go. Oh, this section of the nervous system is responsible for calming the body after a stressful response. Which one is it? Again, it's hopefully a choice between 2 different things. So we're talking calming the body. And well, looks like 13 out of 25. We're up to 60% now. Have put in a vote for your favorite answer. And we're up to 76%. Up over 80%. 21 out of 25 of you have voted for an answer. So I'm going to end the poll, let you see where we're at. And it looks like, number 3 got the most responses there. And let's check the board. Survey says, feel like Steve Harvey, is that his name? Yeah. Parasympathetic nervous system is the correct answer, and it looks like 13 out of 25 of you got the correct answer. Sympathetic nervous system is for something else. What was my memory trick? Do you remember about the sympathetic nervous system? What is it for? Yeah. Uh, Boy, Ryan, you are the fastest typist. Or is it voice to text? Anyway, Ryan, good job. Yeah, the sympathetic nervous system is for speed. Anybody remember the P from parasympathetic? What did I pair that with? Yeah, Joanna. Yeah, Christy. Yeah, you got it. Peace, exactly. The P equals peace or calm. That's why parasympathetic calms our body down, and the sympathetic nervous system speeds us up. I don't know if anybody's watching the Winter Olympics. There's an event called the biathlon where they cross-country ski like mad, and then they have to shoot at something that's like a size of a quarter. And after they've been pumping so hard cross-country skiing, they have to use that parasympathetic nervous system to calm their heart and their breathing so that they can steady their rifle. And so the parasympathetic nervous system, I'm sure they have trained very well to be able to compete in that event. I could never do that one, but parasympathetic is peace, sympathetic is speed, or what is that, fight or flight reaction. Okay, let's take a look, see what else I got here. Oh, this is another fun one, kind of. No harm on this one. Which statement do you agree with? Children younger than 10 should be given medications to correct emotional or behavioral problems, or most childhood behavior and emotional problems like ADHD are not really disorders, but are a function of just being a kid. What do you think? Again, this is just sort of an opinion question. It's not on the exam or anything like that. Just to have a little fun, break up things a little bit here, and kind of get an idea what your peers think about medications or disorders, stuff like that. So not going to spend too much time on this one. So it looks like we're up to 27 people. So a couple others joined us. Those of us who joined late, you could, when I send out the link to the recording, you could actually catch yourselves up or view what you missed on that recording. Oops, I almost erased everybody's responses here. And as you can see, 63% of you chose response number 2, that most childhood and behavioral, or most childhood problems are not really disorders, but function of being a kid. I have seen value in medications for young children, but boy, I think we need to use them very sparingly. And I see Ashley has asked how many questions are on the exam, and there's 51 questions. You can actually get 102% on the exam. Give a little extra credit. Yeah, it seems people overdiagnose and overmedicate themselves or loved ones because, you know, they sort of are outside the norm. I am hesitant to over medicate or even medicate young kids, but I have seen situations that I think we need to probably come in with a big syringe sometimes. Are there open-ended questions? No. They're all going to be multiple guess, and part of the reason for that is I am going to be correcting 200 exams in the next 2 days, and I run these through a machine, to tell you the truth. It's an easy way to give an exam because I'm still scoring your reports that you've submitted to me. So no open-ended essay type questions. They will all be multiple choice, and if you don't know the answer, it will be multiple guess. Okay, let me relaunch the poll here, see where we're at. And assuming we had the technology, should we be allowed to clone humans? What do you think? Yes or no on that one? Again, it's just for fun, just to break up a little bit of that monotony of hearing me drone on here in the evening. Some of you heard me this morning. Some of you are my Tuesday, Thursday class, but yeah, it looks like a lot of people have answered so far, and in pretty much almost unanimous. Let me show you how people voted. And as you can see, most people said, nah, we shouldn't be cloning humans. Yes, you'll have the entire class time to take the test. Yeah, one of me is plenty. That's for sure. And the other thing is a clone will actually not be behaviorally just like you, yeah, just like you. And in fact, I think it costs $50,000 to clone a pet, and thousands of people have already done that. Seventh Day, remember. Ooh, was that a movie? I did not see that. I don't get out much. Yeah. Interesting movie, probably. Yeah, your your evil twin. That's right. You are an identical, aren't you, Kate? Yeah. Oops, I just hit a wrong button here. Let me size that back down. Okay. Don't need that negativity. Okay. Oops. Let me relaunch the poll so you can vote on. I think we're finally into chapter 4. I might have one or two questions from chapter 4. Let's take a look. Ooh, here we go. Some of you just heard about this today. Parts of the eye that can only detect shades, black and white shade and shades of gray are the what? I think this should be kind of an easy question. Which parts of the eye, can only detect black and white and shades of gray? Is that the cones, rods, iris, or vitreous humor? And it looks like 21 out of 27 have registered to vote so far. So we're up to 80%. So I'm going to end the poll and let you see how everybody voted. And as you can see, 86% of you, 19, went for the rods, which is in fact the correct answer. Those rods, if you remember, some of you today didn't get to see Blue Man Group, but on YouTube, Blue Man Group explains rods and cones pretty well. And the rods function very well in low light, but they can only see black and white. Okay. Let me clear. And we're ready for another question. Oops. And okay, here we go. The what is located at the back of the eye and transforms light into patterns that we can see. Is that the iris, the bristle, the retina, or optic nerve? What translates? Oh, it's located back of the eye and transforms light into patterns that we can see. And it looks like, what are we up to? 14 out of 27 have been able to register an answer. And your text goes into, I would say, a lot of biology or anatomy in chapters 3 and 4. I gave you some about the eye, and I'm reviewing some of it now. So you might want to pay attention to what I gave you. Your notes hopefully are good, and you registered a lot of things I write down on the board. So it looks like we're up at 92% of people voting. So let's take a look at what you voted for. And it looks like 64% of you, or 16 of you, went for the retina. Nobody went for Brizzle, so Blue Man Group did not sway you. But in fact, retina is the correct answer. Optic nerve carries messages to the brain, and it's our blind spot, if you recall, but it doesn't translate light into images. The retina is probably the best answer for that. Optic nerve is part of the retina, but the retina with its rods and cones is probably the best answer there to that question. Okay. Let's take a look at another one here. Whoops. See how we can do. Oh, you go swimming in cold water. At first, you are in agony, but later the water doesn't feel so bad. You have experienced what? Sensory adaptation, perceptual constancy, vestibular adaptation, or gustation? What's the best answer on this one? And it looks like, we're up close to 70% of you put an answer in so far. I think this is a pretty easy one. On your exam, there's going to be some easy questions, I think, and some that you're going to have to take your time on a little bit. And it looks like 88% of you have voted, so let's take a look at how you voted. And as you can see, most of you went for sensory adaptation, which is, in fact, the correct answer. Sensory adaptation is what happens when you, well, any sense, your sense of touch, smell. If you ever have been to a pig farm, you know that at first it's pretty potent, but after a while you don't even notice it. And that's that sensory adaptation happening, that your sense organ kind of transforms and kind of gets used to things. Your eye, same thing. And like I said in class, we get used to temperatures. We get used to cold temperature during the winter, and then 50-degree day feels just wonderful. But during the summer, 50-degree day does not feel wonderful because we're used to 80s and 90s maybe. So, okay, let's clear the poll. And let's see what we got here, because I think, yeah, I'm looking at the chat area here to kind of see what other questions do you guys have, or what can I explain a little more fully that might be helpful while you've got me here. Like I said, I'm eyeing the chat area to see which questions you guys might have. Remember, this is going to be a Scantron test, so you want to bring a pencil to the exam. And we'll have an hour and 15 minutes. Normally, people take, about 40 minutes maybe. After you're done, by the way, you can leave. I just ask that you leave quietly. And I'll say this before the exam, but I'll say it now too. if somebody asks you what was on the exam, somebody from another class, it would be cheating for you to tell them. So your answer has to be, sorry, I can't tell you, because if we get caught, we both get zeros. So yeah, number 2 pencil, Christy. Thanks, Elaine, for answering that. I usually bring a few extras. Can I give an example of the independent and dependent variable? Yeah, let's go back to the first class. I gave a question, what's the best time for somebody to read something? And in order to run that experiment, one group has to read something at 11 in the morning, one group has to read it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and one group has to read it at 11 p.m. And the independent variable is the time of day that somebody had to read the material. That's the independent variable. What gets changed between the groups? And then what got measured is how much they remember. Some of you may not be able to see the question here, but the question was, give an example for dependent and independent variable. The independent variable is what time people had to read the material, and the dependent variable or measurement is how much did they remember. So I hope I was able to answer that well for the individual who asked that question. And Zach, as everybody can see, is it going to be where we go into class regular time, do the test, and then leave type of thing? Yes. How many questions on the test? 51 questions on the exam. And as I said, you can actually get 102%. Will we have all the answers to the test in our notes? Nope. Will there be some details from the textbook that we might not have hit? Yes, because I'm teaching 6 sections of this course, and what happens, and sometimes I repeat myself because I can't remember that I already told the class, but sometimes I think I've already told the class something, so I skip it, and in reality I never told you in the first place. 64-year-old neurons, I kind of, I hope you'll excuse my not being able to keep things straight between 6 different sections. Let's see, I'm not sure what 11 a.m. means, but yes, you can leave right after you're done. 51 questions, yep, okay. And I'm not sure what this might mean. I believe he said it will be covered on notes, okay. All the material for the test is on, no, not, Ashley's question there, all the material for the test is on PowerPoints in D2L. I can't say that for sure. Best time to read or study for the test? Probably 11 o'clock in the morning, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But the material for the exam comes from my notes. My notes come from the PowerPoints, but they also sometimes come from my experience, let's say. But definitely the textbook is the source for all the material. So there will be things, let me back up, there's possibly things in the textbook not covered on D2L nor in class. So, hey, you paid for the textbook, you might as well read it, right? So I would say use as many materials as you can. Remember, I also provide you with the publisher's website that has some practice materials. It has fill-in-the-blank questions, and it also has multiple choice questions for each one of the chapters. So for some reason, there's the chat back again. Okay, I'm looking, not necessarily seeing more questions. So from Elaine, thank you. You are welcome. I hope this has been helpful for you. I will do this before every exam, even our final. It's always optional. I have recorded it, and we'll send a link to the recording. And I hope it's not only informative, but a little bit of fun. It's just something I started doing a few years back, and students have said positive things on Rate My Professor, so I figure I'm going to keep on doing this. So I'm seeing lots of thank yous, which I appreciate. And I'm glad to see iPhones can actually get it. I see, Cindy, you were able to get it on your iPhone, which is pretty cool. So I'm kind of glad that's the, oh gosh, Elaine, don't tell everybody that. My head's going to swell. But I enjoy teaching. I really do, and I'm glad that it comes across. At least I hope so. So anyway, I am going to go ahead and end things right now, and I will see you at the exam. So have a great night or two or whatever. I will see you at the exam.